Welcome to ISAP, International Forum for Sustainable Asia and the Pacific 2020, organized by IGES, Institute for Global Environmental Strategies. We will start thematic session TT09, entitled Decentralized Wastewater Management Approach for Environmental Sustainability in the Post-COVID-19, with distinguished guest speakers and IGES researchers. The session will be 90 minutes long, and I hope you enjoy watching and participating in our discussions. ISAP 2020 is using Slido to interact with the audience. You can ask questions and make comments in the sessions via Slido on the session webpage or by accessing to the Slido URL or the QR code with your smartphone, PC, or tablet. Okay, hello once again. I'm Osamu Mizuno, a Principal Fellow at IGES. Today, I'm going to moderate this session. In this session, we're going to discuss the potential roles and contributions of Decentralized Wastewater Treatment System, or DEWATS, for the sound water governance, including its positive impacts in managing COVID-19 crisis. Without further ado, I would like to invite our new Executive Director of IGES, Mr. Yasuo Takahashi, for the welcome remarks. So Takahashi, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mizuno. Good afternoon and good morning. My name is Yasuo Takahashi. I have recently been appointed the Executive Director of IGES, succeeding Mr. Hideki Mori. I would like to welcome all the participants and audiences to the ISAP thematic session number 9, Decentralized Wastewater Management Approach for Environmental Sustainability in the Post-COVID-19. As you may all recognize, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected significantly on various aspects of the environment, including the area of waste management. In the Asian region, even before the COVID-19 outbreak, poor wastewater management, such as poor sanitation, lack of proper wastewater treatment facilities, have caused severe negative environmental, public health, and economic impacts. And there is a concern that adverse effects from COVID-19 would be worsened by the poor situation of water management. Meanwhile, IGES has been working on the research of appropriate wastewater management system in developing countries in Asian region. And decentralized wastewater management approach has recently been identified as a promising solution, both in terms of costs and sustainability. Moreover, decentralized wastewater management system can also offer many opportunities for addressing emerging challenges of microbial water quality and microplastics pollution, as well as minimizing potential human health impacts and risks of infections with COVID-19. In this context, this thematic session will focus on following 3 issues. First, it will deepen our understanding on the roles of decentralized wastewater management approach in improving environmental sustainability in the post-COVID-19. Second, it will initiate discussion on potential routes of COVID-19 contamination and suggest the possibility of regular wastewater surveillance as an early warning tool revealing coronavirus outbreak. Third, it will provide an in-depth understanding of the physical and chemical properties of microplastics in sewage treatment plants and the removal efficiency throughout different decentralized wastewater treatment process. We have excellent speakers who have expertise and experiences on water management issues in Asian region, and I look forward to hearing active discussion throughout this session. Thank you all again for your participation.
Thank you, Takahashi-san, for your welcome remarks. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Pham Ngoc Bao, Senior Policy Researcher at IGES. He's going to talk about addressing associated risk of COVID-19 infections across water and wastewater service chain in Asia. So Bao-san, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. No-san. Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning, good evenings, all the participants from the other parts of the world. My name is Pham Ngoc Bao. I'm a Senior Water and Sanitation Specialist from IGS. And it's my great honor to be here and to explain you about to give a talk about the impact of the COVID-19 on the water sector, especially on water and wastewater service in Asia. As just 2 days ago, I have a quick look at the most reliable sort of information on the COVID. It's on the Johns Hopkins University website, and we learned that up to 2 days ago, it's already more than 50 million people around the world has been affected by the COVID. And also the COVID already caused the death of more than 1.2 million people around the world. And unfortunately, in Asia, almost 30%, more than 30% of the case is from Asia, and more than 22% of the global deaths also from the region. As a result, this COVID has a very severe impact on the public health around the world. And most of the people know that one of the major transmission routes of the COVID is through the inhalations of the droplets or particle through the person-to-person contacts. Unfortunately, there's also another route cause some infection is through the contact of contaminated objects. The droplets or the aerosol or particle may land on the surface of the object and cause some kind of infections. And for example, you can see here that if the contaminated droplet or aerosol land on different kind of surface, it can retain viral infections for a certain period of time. For example, in the outside of surgery room, it can retain up to 7 days. In the paper money, for example, it can contain up to 4 days. And in the sewage, they also found that the COVID also found in a lot of sewage treatment plants, and it can retain for 3 days or even more, depend on the conditions of water. And unfortunately, there's a growing number of scientists report and also the paper, they indicate that this COVID virus or SARS-CoV-2 were found in the stool of the COVID patient, and it can retain for very long duration, up to 5 weeks. And scientists also found that this virus also were detected from the feces, human feces, from the infected person, even the people who have mild or even no symptom of the infection. So so they found that in terms of the concentration of the RNA is a kind of genetics material of the virus, and they found that the concentration is up to 10 power 8 copy per 1 gram of feces, but normally it's in the range of from 10 power 3 to 10 power 8 copy per gram of feces, depending on the condition. And the virus concentration has high peak during the first week of the symptom and gradually decrease during the duration of the clinical course. And you can see here that especially in Asia, the wastewater was not properly treated, and as a result, the virus from the human feces can go directly from the toilets, household toilets, into the wastewater treatment plant, or even go to the water body. Unfortunately, in Asia, the ratio of properly treated water is very small, and most of the raw wastewater just directly go to the receiving body. As a result, it's caused some kind of potential infections from if you have a contact with this kind of water body, such as a lake or river and so on. And there's a lot of reports show that during the COVID pandemic's peak is around March and April, And they take a sample from the wastewater treatment plant in Paris. And unfortunately, all the sample were found positive for the virus. And there's so many other cases already been conducted in US, France, Australia, Spain, and so on. And the result is also similar. They can find the RNA in the raw wastewater from the range of 22 to 83%. So it depends on the condition, depends on the treatments process and so on. And so as a result, we can find that the concentration of the virus in the human feces is almost 3 to 5 order of magnitude higher than in the wastewater. And the survival of the virus after it's discharged into outside environment, it depends on a lot of environmental factors, for example, like pH, temperatures, light exposure, organic matter, and so on. And this is a very few evidence. We just want to show you, I'm not explaining detail, but this want to show you that this is a kind of strong evidence already report from the scientific communities from China, Korea, Singapore, France, Germany, and so on. And the virus already detected not only in the raw wastewater, but also even in the sometimes in the treated wastewater as well. And so we can see here that very clear that there's 5 major hotspots that can cause some kind of infection. The first one is wastewater from hospital, especially in Asia. The hospital wastewater is very it's not properly treated, and in most of the case, it just discharged directly into the common sewer system. And as a result, it can cause some kind of infection. Another is from the quarantine building or quarantine house. Normally in this quarantine house, they don't have a specific treatment system. As a result, all the wastewater just discharged directly to the common sewer system. And similarly, the people who work in the wastewater treatment plant also have a high potential of infection. And another hotspot is we found that especially in Asia, nowadays we have a lot of heavy rain and flooding. And the overflow from the sewage treatment system or sewage system can contain some virus and can cause some infection among the communities, especially during the flooding events. So as a result, most of these potential risks, potential pathway of the virus need to be properly understood so that we can take proper action to minimize the infections from the wastewater. And I said that unfortunately in Asia, the wastewater is not properly handled. As a result, it's got a lot of problems. I just want to give you an overview of the wastewater treatment situation in Asia. And you see here that compared to other regions, in Asia is a region which have a very high ratio of population with limited and unimproved sanitation facility. And just give you a short net that maybe you can see that many countries heavily rely on the on-site sanitation system like septic tank only. But the ratio of the wastewater treatment is very, very small compared to developed country. So for example, in a country like Vietnam, 95% of the urban household have to depend on septic tanks. But the wastewater treatment ratio is only less than 20%. And also the sludge from the septic tank also is not properly addressed or treated, and very small percent, like only 4%, 10% in some other country. And this is a real example from Indonesia, where wastewater is not properly addressed, and it's caused a lot of pollution in the river. And you can see here that more than 70% of the river in Indonesia has been classified as a heavily polluted river in this country. And we try to understand where the source of this kind of pollution, and we found that most of the source is from from household. In addition to the from other source like from industry and agriculture and so on. Similarly, the sludge we call septage is from the septic tank has not properly treated, just collect and illegally discharge somewhere. So that's called a lot of problem. And you can understand that only 1 gram of feces, it may contain like 100 parasite eggs or 10 million virus in only 1 gram of feces. So that is need to be taken into account. In addition, that the agenda 2030 agendas on sustainable development also highlight the need for safely managed sanitation service that need to address not only the wastewater treatment, but also excreta and also sludge need to be properly treated or managed. So as a result, we found that the centralized wastewater treatment system approach, which has been employed in developed countries very successfully, address the challenge of water quality problem. But it failed in ASEAN because of the cost, and mainly. So as a result, to narrow the gap, we need to employ a kind of innovative solution, and decentralized sanitation is one of the solutions that we consider. It can offer a lot of benefit compared to the centralized, including the in terms of economics, social, environmental benefit, and so on. I think our next speaker will discuss a little bit more detail about this. So a number of decentralized system has been installed in ASEAN country, which is we feel that it's quite successfully, but only very small number, like in Thailand, in Vietnam, in Myanmar. And also, this is a very good example of the decentralized septic treatment in Thailand, so on. So, of course, in order to utilize effectively decentralized treatment system for addressing the virus, then the appropriate disinfection technique must be introduced. Then there's many ways for the disinfection, many methods, including the using chlorination and also UV and also ozonation and so on. However, in our ASEAN country, mostly the chlorine has been employed for the disinfection. However, the optimal dose must be identified to effectively inactivate the virus without generating the disinfection byproduct. Similarly, for the hospital wastewater, also there's so many other disinfectants that can be considered. So how to turn this challenge into the opportunity? And we believe that one of the good approach is regularly virus surveillance in wastewater, which has been a long history, and it has been a proven concept in the public health. And then this approach can help to overcome the limitation of the traditional clinical surveillance, which is more time-consuming, more costly. And even in a clinical test, we cannot identify the asymptomatic patient, so we may underestimate the real scale of the virus. However, by using this kind of regular virus surveillance in wastewater as an early warning tool for the occurrence of the virus, we can monitor the status of the virus infection in the community, and also we can evaluate the trend and track the hotspot, and also reveal the true scale of the coronavirus outbreak and so on. So, however, there's a number of challenges that we need to consider in order to utilize effectively this approach, including the equipment of equipped testing facility, and also improve the knowledge and scientific understanding, scientific evidence on how the SARS-CoV can behave in wastewater, and also the technical guidance on the monitorings in both sewage and non-sewage. And also we need to have a standard methodology for sampling, collections, and analyzing, and so on. So these all factors need to be considered in order to effectively this approach to address the COVID. So if you want to get more information, we already prepare an issue brief that we already upload on the website. So you can freely download and then have a close look to have a better, more detailed information for yourself. Yeah. That's all for my talk today. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Bao-san, for your very informative presentation. Before moving on, let me ask just one small question to you. It is a bit surprising to know that we can detect the COVID viruses in domestic and hospital wastewater. But at the same time, it is very good to know that potentially DEWATS can make great contribution for the management of such viruses. But as far as I know, such a critical wisdom has not been well recognized among the key stakeholders. But such a recognition of the potential risk of wastewater and the potential role of DEWATS should be the starting point to trigger actions. So what do you think should be done to share your wisdom among the policymakers and practitioners in Asia?
Yeah, thank you very much for your questions. In order to address these questions and also to help the ASEAN country, especially the country in ASEAN, to address the issue of the water pollution and also the potential risk from the virus, And in the last 2 years, actually more than 5 years, but recently in the last 2 years, we have worked closely with different partners, including our colleagues here, Kubota-san from NIST and also from World Bank, to provide a capacity building and promote the policy dialogue among the country, ASEAN countries, so that we can help all the countries to have a better understanding how the DWAT is work, and then how to effectively use the DWAT to address the various challenges. Of course, many people know, many countries know the importance and the advantage of DWAT, but how to utilize, how to use this effectively, that is another challenge. It's not only the technical issue, but also we have a good understanding about what kind of financial mechanism, what kind of business model we can utilize, to effectively use the DWAT solution. It may be different from country to country. So as a result, all the policymakers should have a insight and deep understanding how this approach can work effectively in their local context. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pao-san. So let me move on and introduce the next presenter. Next presenter is Professor Thammarat Kottatep from Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand. He is going to talk about decentralized wastewater management to enhance regional environmental sustainability in the post-COVID-19. So Professor Thammarat, the floor is yours. Professor Thammarat, we cannot hear your voice.
Okay, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Perhaps I can share my screen from here if any internet disconnection, so that you can please share your screen instead. So I think I have a very nice and good opportunities to meet you all, even from the online platform, but also like to congratulate the IGS and the other colleagues that we need to be very in advance to think about that, what to be managed on the decentralized wastewater management approach, which is again that we are facing this kind of pandemic, but how we can do better in a way that after the COVID 19 the pandemic, what should we do better? So I would like to share a bit of that the angle from Thailand, that what do we do and how should we do better, and then share some ideas to you on these presentations. Yeah. Next slide. Okay, so I think that the Bao-san has share to you very well that what is the situation for the sanitation worldwide. And of course, in our country, developing country in South and Southeast Asia, we are having lots of problem of this, that how we can address more. And then particularly to the urban, we are having lots of that the problems that how should we do better in the way that the sanitation reach to the people. So even now we are not having this very good successful yet, but we need to address more. And then after the COVID-19, we think that how should we encourage people to understanding this kind of a decentralized sanitation or decentralized wastewater management system, and then how can we ensure that we can protect those kind of virus or other infections matters. So the status, I think that we can share with you a bit that in Southeast Asia, in Asian country in particular, we having a good progress, but not all the countries. So in Cambodia, in Laos, in Philippines, or even in Thailand, so that it is not very well connected with the sewerage. So even we have lots of that, the grants or donors, or even the investment by the central government itself, it's not that as good as it should be compared with the other developed country or the advanced country like in Malaysia. So we are still in the stage that what could be improved later, is that we still relies on the decentralized or no sewerage or non-sewer sanitation, but how can we improve the efficiencies of that decentralized sanitation or decentralized wastewater management in the way that we can improve the quality of the peoples. Then in the regional status, I would not wish to repeat the information that shared by the Bao Sangs, but particularly in Thailand, we having investments a lot, but the capacity we are still not very good in progress to achieve the whole country with the sewerage system. And then to my knowledge, the governments stop investing this kind of sewerage system for almost a decade, that they would not wish to have a bigger treatment plants or enhance the sewerage connection or network. But we are a bit better, but at least we are a bit better at least toilet connections to the household. We have 99% that the people can reach, but unfortunately the residual, I mean in terms of the fecal sludge or the wastewater, is not yet well managed. Then that's why we come up with that the burden of the poor sanitation worldwide. You may notice that it is quite heavy burdens in terms of that economic burdens. So that in Asia Pacific, in Asian country in particular, so that we could be at least about that 170 billion US dollar that is caused by this kind of poor sanitation. So this would be the big amount of the economic loss by the poor sanitation. So that if we would like to improve, but we may not be able to improve so right now, as shown by the graph in the Dr. Bao presentations, saying about that, ideally, yes, we would like to go for the off-site sanitation, but practically it may not be able to invest so far. So we still rely on the decentralized sanitation. But the issue would be that how should we improve the efficiencies or the performance of that the decentralized sanitation system, that we can cover and then we can improve the address on that. And then the investment gap for SDG, we also found out that the Asian infrastructure investment, it is improved for sure. But if we talk about that, the improvement for the investment for the improve of the sanitation is not so high. So that the trend is there, but if we would like to get into the sanitation investment, is not that very high yet. And then the water security index in our region, we can find out that it's not that very good success, and then we still have so-called uncontrolled sewage discharge and leakage. So even partially we have the sewer system or sewer network in our countries, in Thailand, in Vietnam, partly in the big cities, but it is not very well controlled, and we have a kind of a leakage that can create more problems. So that not only the eutrophications, but the virus and some other infectious microorganism is there. So that is having lots of problems. Then that's why we have to think and rethink carefully that, of course, we invest nicely in the three case study that in Vietnam, in Thailand, in Philippines, we can invest such a huge investment. But in contrast, whether we can do that for all or every communities or not all over the country. So that would be the big question mark, that how should we do and how should we invest. Then of course the centralized approach, somehow we believe that it is quite efficient, but in practice we found out that it's not so efficient. For example, that in our Bang Sư treatment plant in Bangkok City, it looks very nice, but if we look into details of the wastewater concentration in the influent is still very low, and then it means that the majority of the pollution remains with the on-site sanitation or the decentralized sanitation system that we need to manage. So even if we try to invest such a huge scale or the large scale treatment facilities, but we are not able to stop using the decentralized approach anyway. And then it is having lots of problems after that, the operation and then the maintenance of the system that is not that with the satisfactory the performance. And then some constraint that we have been observed so far, so from the experience of our study, that mostly our on-site sanitation system failed to be recognized in the field cost sludge management. So this is something that we may need to think carefully after or before or after the COVID pandemic start. The field cost sludge management is not yet very well addressed in the policies, but somewhere, somehow it may be addressed, but practically it's not that well respond or managed. And then the other things that we are not really look into that the private operators, that majority of the MPR, it is done by the private operator, so that it may not be well controlled yet. And so, and again, that this would lead to many other effects to that after the pandemics, we also thinking of that the virus in the fecal sludge would be another way around that we can address the issue earlier, other than that the sewage system. Then with this wastewater monitoring or for the early detections of the pandemics, that would be done, could be done. And many studies in Europe, in US, in Japan, you have done nicely. But to our countries, I mean, in the developing country, perhaps we may not be able to do nicely because we cannot having the silver shed area to designate that. Well, if we notice the COVID DNA or the virus DNA in the sewage system, we may be able to address that, okay, this population, but in our country, we mostly relies on the decentralized system. We may need to rethink that, how should we do for the sludge, especially for the fecal sludge that can address earlier, and then the size or the scale of the community that having the release of the COVID-19, maybe we can guess better, because if you use the sewage system, for example, in Bangkok City, that means that it contain about that at least 1 million people for that virus detection, so that it would be very large. But if we can pinpoint into that a decentralized system, we may have the kind of the ideas that, okay, if it is for that one community is not using the decentralized system, then we can have the early detection better, that we are hoping as from the viewpoints of the researchers. Then the impact of the COVID-19 for the water and sanitation sections, we would think that, of course, again, that the slowdown investment, or as we have discussed with many facilities or the departments from the government, that they may say that, well, they would like to invest other sector instead of that, the water sanitations. Then they're having more and more seriously about that, as mentioned by Dr. Bao, about that the PPE and the health insurance for the workers as well, that they would have the sanitation workers that have a high risk to contact to that the virus. And with this, we need to think about that, what should be the new alternative approach that gaining greater attention, because somehow some means that if we just talk about the fecal sludge, the decentralized wastewater management, in a way that just to remove the BOD, just to remove the solid matters, then the government peoples or the investor may not be very exciting. But if we talk about that, well, we should do better for the DEWAT system, then we can early detect the COVID-19 virus, then they would have more attentions from that would be. So I would like to skip this part, as already mentioned by Dr. Bao, but anyway, in the futures, we should be able to think that how we can develop the better technologies with the monitoring, with the kind of the disinfection purposes as well. That in the past, we mainly talked about that conventional parameters, the BOD, COD, nitrogen, phosphorus, but later is that the virus, the disinfection process, either on the sewage system or in the decentralized system, that should be done as well. Again, that from this per capita investment, that would be another scenario that we need to rethink carefully, that if you like to go up to that, the tertiary treatment system, it may be very expensive, but of course we cannot avoid that. But to my knowledge, that if we can do another way around, that for example, in the septic tank latrines or the porous latrine, if we can upgrade them into that disinfection process to kill the virus, so that we have an early point of that protections of the spread of either the virus or other microorganisms. That would be the better things. And, again, that the decentralized, centralized, of course, this would be comparisons that we have done in the past, but the other things that would be interesting to address more is about the social values, that how can we provide more people job opportunities or the green open space that we need to think about and address into that. And then how we should address what's into the post-COVID-19 situation. We are thinking of that the adoption of this wastewater-based epidemiology would be the effective system, particularly to the DEWAT system or decentralized system, that if we can early detection, then we can address or think about that the smaller populations that having a potential to be infected in that scale. That would be better. And also that the proper DEWAT system with the disinfection process, where perhaps we can kill or we can remove the virus contents in that before releasing into the environment, so that the low-income region could have the better system because of this, and then we can reduce the risk to contaminate to the drinking water as well if we can do better for the DEWAT system. And our thinking further is about that how we sustain the DEWAT system, and that could, of course, it should be more effective, cost effective, and also that the promising treatment capacity, how should we address individual household or public entities or some others. Of course, they could help the pollutant loads, and perhaps could be another potential to renewable energy resource from the oil gas, for example, and then that have the more reliability for the inflow fluctuation and function with the technical energy inputs. Then there are some things that I think that
Professor Tamarat, sorry to interrupt, but could you try to summarize?
Yeah, I try to summarize by skip of this the case study, but just to summarize the case that we have the DEWAT is that. So no one size fit for all, for sure, that we need to understand the system or the setup of the city or the communities, and also that we need to address the different needs, that whether they having the problems of that land area or the virus or nitrogen or phosphorus, so that the technologies should be differences, and then the sanitation could be the citywide inclusive, so that we can meet the interim and intermediate needs, so that we should not just say about, oh, well, we would like to clean up all the river in the sudden in the 1 year time, 2 years time, but we may need to set the different needs. So that would be my summary, that what DEWAT can contribute to this post-COVID-19. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Professor Tamarat, for your cooperation. And your presentation makes it very clear that we have been suffering from serious burden of poor sanitation, and we have a big investment gaps for SDGs. And you also clarified that the COVID-19 crisis have posed additional challenges or burden to us. But I'll hold my questions until the end, so that we have some time for the open discussion. So let me move on to and introduce the next speaker. And next, I would like to invite that two speakers. The first, Dr. Adriana Gomez Sanabrio from IASA, and Eric Zassman from IGES. They are going to talk about creating core benefits from the decentralized wastewater treatment technologies, case study from Indonesia fish processing industries. So, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Mizuno-san, and thank you very much, colleagues, for allowing us to present some of our work. Let me share my screen so we can start up the presentation. Okay, as Mizuno-san kindly noted, presentation will focus on case study from the fish processing industry. And one of the key points we'll underline is we're trying to bring in a governance dimension into how technology can possibly change in this industry, and large focus on Indonesia. So the first point that I would like to make is that polluted water can pose a serious threat to health, can cause disease and early death. This is clearly illustrated by this chart right here, which shows the number of disability-adjusted life years that have been lost to dirty water. And as we can see in terms of the case that we're interested in today, and in terms of Southeast Asia, Indonesia, this is particularly a big problem. That's the red highlighted bar. This is attributable, of course, to different types of issues with wastewater. I mean, I think it's been stressed, of course, that residential problems are significant, but we also see this in small and medium-sized enterprises, and particularly from the fish processing industry. So this gives you some illustrations of some of the wastewater that's coming from this industry. And of course, this industry is very important in parts of Southeast Asia that are close to ocean and rely upon catching fish for livelihoods. And so the case that we're working on for this paper is located in Jembrana Regency in Bali Island. And it is a relatively typical small and medium-sized enterprise that's dealing with processing different types of fish. This industry in particular is worth highlighting for one of the impacts and one of the reasons demonstrated in this table. Okay, so this table is taken from a program called PROPER, which evaluates how different types of companies and industries are complying with different types of policies and regulations. And what we can see here from the many different industries is when it comes to wastewater treatment, the fish processing industry is basically getting a significant portion of this red and black, which suggests that companies are making some effort for red, but not reaching minimum requirements, or for the black, companies are not yet complying with the legislation. So the fish processing industry is particularly problematic. I think some of the reasons for this are that you have a large number of diffuse and small industries with limited resources to purchase wastewater treatment technologies. So we came to this problem with that sort of practical background in our mind, and we were interested in understanding what might be the potential to introduce wastewater management technologies in this sector. And we were not interested solely in just treating the wastewater, although we recognize that this is a significant problem, but we were also interested in to what extent we could achieve multiple benefits or co-benefits, especially for water quality as well as climate change. And so we recently published an article in the Journal of Environmental Management where we looked at the potential for introducing and then scaling up different types of wastewater treatment technologies that could potentially achieve both reductions in COD or water pollution, as well as reductions in greenhouse gases, namely methane and carbon dioxide. And what we were interested in doing is saying, okay, what are the potential technologies out there, and how might different governance arrangements influence both the technologies that were selected, the timing for their introduction, and perhaps most importantly, whether they've been scaled up effectively. And we borrowed from some insights on what we call multi-level, multi-stakeholder governance, which is highlighted in this table right here. And basically what we were trying to do is set up scenarios which would say, okay, if you have good integration across different agencies or between different levels of decision-making, or with multiple stakeholders such as businesses, civil society, what would that do for this choice of your technologies and how quickly and how easily it's scaled up? And so we then looked at the different set of technologies, drawing upon a project that we had done with the Ministry of Environment in Japan. And they had done this pilot project, as mentioned in Gembrana Regency, where they looked at many different possible wastewater treatment technologies. Some of these would be able to reduce your COD and also reduce greenhouse gases, while some of them would only reduce COD and might actually lead to an increase in greenhouse gases. So here's an image of the different elements of that pilot project. And then this is just the last slide I'm going to handle before turning it over to Adriana. And this is an estimate of the different impacts of these different technologies on your climate change and also on COD. And what you can see from this slide is, in contrast to a business as usual scenario, several of the technologies labeled 4, 3, and 2, at swimbed, anaerobic activated sludge, and anaerobic swimbed, can lead to reductions in both greenhouse gases as well as COD. But the more typical technology that's going to be introduced according to Indonesia's wastewater management law is this aeration lagoon and activated sludge technology. And this technology was going to lead to improvements in water quality, but not reductions in GHGs. And that sort of small, what looks like a relatively small difference on it, if you just do it for one technology, once you introduce some of these governance reforms that help scale up that technology, that small difference can be multiplied and augmented with big impacts. And so I'm going to now turn the slides over to my colleague, Adriana from YASA in Vienna, Austria. Adriana, if you take it from here, I'll turn the slides for you.
Okay, so continue what Eric has said. So one of the examples what Eric said about the different technologies. So when we think just in one objective, in this case, just targeting water pollution, we can see that in many cases, if this can lead to a reduction in COD, but it can increase greenhouse gases. That's related to the technology in use. Usually, aerobic treatment requires artificial aerators to stimulate biological oxidation. And this increases the CO2 emissions of the wastewater treatment plants. So, and this is the case of this technology when we just think about water pollution. If we implement or combine different targets or see the wastewater treatment like in the systems thinking, not just to reduce water pollution, but also in terms to reduce the risk of health problems, but also the greenhouse gas emissions, we can combine different technologies. In that sense, we can, if we move to the co-benefit scenarios that we were combining with the different levels of governance, we see that the combination of these can be advantaged in that sense that we can reduce CO2 emissions from the demand of energy or electricity from external sources, while also we can use this biogas produced to meet the requirements of the electricity demand from the aerobic treatment. So here we can see that when we move to the aerobic treatment, so the reduction of greenhouse gases from the wastewater treatment can reach even 50% in terms of the CO2. Next, please. So here, as a key result, we can see that in many cases, we can have legislation in place, we can have the capacity and the technologies, but if we don't have coordination within institutions or between institutions, and we don't integrate the different environmental and health issues together, we can actually, from one part, can be beneficial in the terms of we can reduce COD or water pollution in wastewater, but we can, on the other hand, increase greenhouse gases emissions. And this is obviously will affect the climate change. So for example, in these slides, we see that methane emissions from all the different scenarios are actually compared to the CO2 are lower, and this is related mostly for the coming from the sludge management. But we see that the CO2 emissions are higher, and this is related to the electricity consumption. So we can, as I said before, if we integrate the different components, so we can actually get co-benefits in different environmental and health aspects. Next. So as a key result here, we can see that if you just focus in one part of the story, so in water pollution, we can actually harm the climate, and we can emit, or we can cause extra greenhouse gas emissions. Also, if we center in strategies that are targeting water pollution and greenhouse gases simultaneously, we can get much more co-benefits in different senses. But we also saw from this study that the integration of governance is key for the success of the beneficial measures and the realization of the objectives. I said in many cases, legislation is there, and capacity and technology, but the implementation is actually in many cases the problem, because of the lack of financial aspect, but also because of the lack of communication between stakeholders. And also we see that when we combine these objectives, that one is the generation of biogas is an advantage for the co-beneficial measures. I think that is from my side. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, both, for your very encouraging presentation. To know that we come to know that DEWAT system can potentially generate co-benefits, especially from the perspective of climate change mitigation. And just moving on to the next presentation, I just want to ask one small question. And in the previous presentations, we learned that we have been facing a serious challenge on water governance to address environmental protection, sanitation, hygiene. But you suggested that we may need to take into account co-benefits when we're selecting technologies for DEWATs, and it may introduce additional phase of investigation before deployment of the DEWAT system. So I'm wondering whether we always need to take into account the co-benefits aspect in selecting the DEWATs, or you have some kind of a criteria or scope, in which case or when we need to take into account co-benefits in deploying DEWATs. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Mizuno-san. Adriana, are you okay if I answer this question?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think it's a very good question. And I think, one of the points it highlights is that doing this type of analysis all the time for every type of technology has some transaction costs. So I think it's important for governments to start adopting and actively using these types of analysis to encourage industry to make these types of selections, and also to develop their policies in ways that that promote co-benefits. Obviously, I think there's a trade-off between having a small and medium-sized enterprise do this type of very high-tech analysis and just adopting the technology. So I think we need to think about the sort of practicalities of doing this on a small scale, but I think at the government level there should be a greater effort to incorporate the analysis into policy and use that as a way to promote the adoption of these technologies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric-san. So let me move on to the next session. At the next session, we originally planned to invite Professor Maria Antonia Tanchoin from the University of the Philippines to make a presentation, but unfortunately, she's now suffering from the big typhoon. Therefore, she doesn't have an access to the internet. Therefore, instead of sharing the live stream of the her presentation will show you the recorded presentation by her. So please listen to that presentation.
Good day to all of you. I would like to thank the organizers of this conference for inviting me. It is my honor to present my talk entitled Addressing Microplastic Pollution through Decentralized Wastewater Treatment Systems, or DWATS, in the Philippines. My apologies for the recorded presentation. There is a very strong typhoon going on right now, and we might lose our power and internet connection. Now, what are microplastics? These are the plastics which are less than 5 millimeters in size. They are considered an emerging contaminant which knows no boundaries, making it a global concern. From a microplastics monitoring study conducted in 2018, it has been reported that microplastics were detected in 66 of the 68 sampling sites. The red circles indicate the highest amount, from 200 to 350 particles per cubic meter. The highest amount was found to be in the South China Sea at 349 particles per cubic meter. The sample from the Philippine Sea contained 243 particles per cubic meter. The occurrence of microplastics in surface waters and sediments was investigated for several river mouths leading to Manila Bay and Laguna Lake. These are the rivers traversing through the highly urbanized and densely populated centers of the country. So that's including Metro Manila and the National Capital Region and the surrounding environments and the surrounding municipalities. The pink dots represent the concentration in particles, the concentration in surface water expressed in particles per cubic meter, while the green ones represent the concentration in sediments expressed as particles per kilogram. Of these 8 rivers, 2 are among the dirtiest in the world. Tuliahan here on the north is connected to Marilao River, which is listed as one of the dirtiest in the world, as well as Pasig River. So Pasig River is the river which is right in the middle goes through Metro Manila, the capital of the Philippines. Now, the microplastics were ubiquitously detected in all surface waters and sediment samples that were extracted from the river mouths of the 5 rivers draining to Manila Bay. So the range is for the surface water, the range is 1,580 to 57,665 particles per cubic meter. And for the sediments, the concentration range was found to be 514 to 1,357 particles per kilogram. So compared to others reported in other parts of the world, this is a bit higher. Can be described by its shape through visual observation using a microscope. They can be classified as fragments, films, pellets, fiber, sheets, or foam. Identifying the shape would indicate the origin of the microplastics. Pellets are the primary microplastics which were originally produced at that size, while the others are derived from the fragmentation of macroplastics. This shows the distribution of the shapes for each river mouth. Each circle represents one river mouth. In this study, it was shown that the majority of the microplastics were fragments, indicating that they originated from macroplastics which were improperly disposed and fragmented through UV radiation and mechanical abrasion. There were also fibers which could have originated from fishing lines or textiles which were released during the washing of clothes. The polymer type of the microplastics were also investigated, and we saw that majority is composed of polypropylene and low-density polyethylene. So these pink ones are the polypropylene, while the orange ones are the low-density polyethylene. The polymer type also aids in identifying the former use of the plastic. In waste composition studies, we see a big fraction composed of LDPE, which is the polymer used for single-use carrier bags and sachets, which are not being collected for recycling. Now, where do microplastics originate? Primary microplastics are those which were produced at that size. They are used as plastic pellets, industrial abrasives, 3D printing powders, and personal care products. The secondary microplastics are derived from bigger sized plastics, such as from tires, textiles, and other plastic products. Some end up directly onto waterways, while some would end up in wastewater treatment plants, such as the personal care products or fibers from washing clothes, and even fragmented plastics. From the wastewater treatment, it can be captured and end up as part of the sludge. From one study conducted by Gatido in 2018, it has been shown that raw wastewater contains 3,160 particles per liter, but will be treated or removed by 72 to 99% using primary and secondary treatment. There will also be microplastics found in the sludge at 170,000 particles per kilogram. In the Philippines, the infrastructure for wastewater treatment is severely lacking. Of the 61 million urban population, the estimated amount of treated wastewater is only 4%. Majority rely on septic tanks, and only 10% of the septage is safely disposed or treated. The rest end up directly onto waterways, releasing pollutants, including microplastics. To address microplastics, the treatment plants can capture them, although the sludge containing microplastics should also be properly managed. This aspect is not well studied yet, but the issue of microplastics should be considered, especially if we are to use the sludge as a soil conditioner or fertilizer. In the Philippines, there are centralized sewerage systems found in the highly urbanized cities, but the financial requirement is very high. Construction period is also long, taking more than 5 years. Majority are still relying on septic tanks, but there is only 30% of the septage that is collected, and 10% is safely disposed, only 10% is safely disposed or treated. Therefore, DWATs can be a viable option in the Philippines. Currently, there are a few DWAT systems in 2nd to 6th class municipalities, schools, markets, and hospitals. The construction period is less than a year and financial requirement is low. So there is a great need for DWAT systems. Wastewater treatment plants may capture the microplastics content in wastewater. Conventional and off-site centralized domestic wastewater treatment approach often require a huge investment cost and highly specialized knowledge and technical expertise for operation and maintenance. Centralized systems are not a viable solution to many local government units and water districts due to their limited funding and technical expertise in planning, design, construction, and operations of these centralized systems. DWATS, therefore, is the more appropriate strategy for many LGUs and water districts. So in this way, we are able to address aside from addressing the usual pollutants coming from the sewage, we are also addressing the problem of microplastic and plastics pollution. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you. So let me move on to introduce the last speaker of this session. The presenter is Dr. Reiko Kubota from World Bank headquarters. She's going to talk about COVID-19 detection from domestic wastewater and the importance of regional cooperation in ASEAN wastewater management approach. So, Kubota-san, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Mizuno-san. And thank you so much.
But I cannot see you. Yes, I can see it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Mizuno-san, for the kind introduction, and also congratulations to IGES for this ISAP event, even though it's taking place virtually. I'm very honored to be part of this discussion today, and I'm very happy to hear some progress on the COVID-19 on the wastewater surveillance in the ASEAN and in the global context. So what I would like to discuss today, before going into my presentation, I'm wearing two hats here. I'm currently a senior environmental engineer at the World Bank Group in headquarters, but at the same time, I'm a researcher at the National Institute for Environmental Studies in Japan. And the contents that I'm going to present today is on behalf of the National Institute for Environmental Studies Japan. So that's something that I wanted to clarify at the beginning of the presentation. So the title of the presentation is a COVID-19 detection from domestic wastewater and the importance of collective governance in ASEAN countries. I think my presentation will be a little bit different from the other presenters in this session, which talks a lot about the possibility of the technologies, but I think my presentation will be solely talking about the importance of the collective governance in the country and also in the region. I think all of the presenters previously presented have already set the very good context about the importance of the decentralized domestic wastewater management system. So I'm not gonna repeat that, but I just want to highlight that there has been a very few measures or initiatives that are identified so far on the COVID-19 detection in the ASEAN regions. Of course, that's only based on a desk research and from only to my very limited knowledge. But unfortunately, in ASEAN regions where a lot of the domestic wastewater are flowing directly into the water bodies, still not really been this COVID-19 detection from the wastewater has not really been recognized as an important agenda in the region at the moment. However, I think Australian government has already declared to support the ASEAN countries, especially those countries in the Mekong region, to introduce some and Australian technology to help the health security. And I think we can not wait any longer, given the poor treatment of the domestic wastewater in this region and the direct discharge water that can expose to the human health. And there's really an urgent need to take measures for monitoring and treating those domestic wastewater in the context of the COVID-19 as well. About the needs of the collective, to introduce a little bit about our project, which has been conducted in the last 2 years, in a little bit later slide. But I just wanted to set the context that from the fact findings that we have conducted in the 9 ASEAN countries, we've identified that in the sector of the decentralized domestic wastewater management, most of the countries have involved more than 2 or 3 ministries in this DEWAT's agenda. For example, in Myanmar, there are 3 related ministries, like Planning Ministry, Environmental Ministry, and the Construction Ministry, which are involved in this topic of this domestic wastewater management. And this is a case of Vietnam. In Vietnam, there are 9 related ministries which is working towards that domestic wastewater management from the different angles. And this is an example in Indonesia. There are 8 related ministries which are working in this agenda as well. And what we have identified from the fact finding is that I think the average number of the related ministries which is working on this domestic wastewater management issue is usually 5 to 6 ministries. And we have to say that there are very limited interministerial coordination that can lead to the better decision making or policy making in the league of this domestic wastewater management agenda. And we really need to have a close-cutting approach to really solve the issue of the domestic wastewater management. However, there have been a very limited efforts and initiatives have been made at the central government level and as well as the local government level to coordinate the policy in this agenda. So in the last 2 years, as Dr. Bao already introduced, we have been working very closely with the ASEAN Secretariat and also with the ASEAN member states to conduct this policy dialogue and network building of the multi-stakeholders on integrated decentralized domestic wastewater management in ASEAN countries. So it was a 2 years project, which is almost ending in the next month. And we wanted to promote the collective governance in policy and decision-making for the domestic wastewater management. And also we aim to build the regional platform for good practices in policies, legislations, projects, and technology. So what was the highlight of this project? We can see Dr. Tamonat here. So what was the characteristic of this project that we gathered 6 different stakeholders in each countries coming from the different backgrounds. So, and we called it a country task force team. So it was participated by the Planning Ministry, Public Works Ministry, Environmental Ministry, academia, and municipality and private sector as an implementator of the domestic waste treatments and ministry issuing building permit. Of course, there were some variables. There were several different stakeholders coming from different backgrounds, but we consisted this 6 different stakeholders to discuss together and also to learn together in this agenda of this decentralized domestic wastewater management. And through this project and through this arrangement of the country task force team in this project, the comments that we received from the participants are that This kind of formation to enhance the collective governance can effectively address the challenges of this wastewater issue, and also can leverage an idea to formulate the policy framework and implementation of the decentralized domestic wastewater management. And it can also help in policy making and a legal framework in ensuring the quality of the decentralized wastewater management system. And we are very fortunate, and we are very feeling honored to see that the project participants are aware of the benefits to work in collaboration. Of course, some of the ministries have already had worked in collaboration with the other ministries in the country. But at the very beginning of this project, there are not all of them had this experience of working in collaboration with the other stakeholders. But this was coming out from the intermediate questionnaire that we conducted last year. But we found that most of the participants felt that there is a certain level of benefits in working with the other stakeholders at the national level and the regional level. So these are the project activities that we have conducted. What we want to emphasize here is that it is really important for them to work closely and collaboratively. And we together identified several common issues across the 9 ASEAN member states that we have to really tackle on as continuously. And we came out with a policy recommendation for several prioritized areas as a project outcome. And from this experience that we have worked in with the ASEAN member states, we thought that there should be and there could be a better regional cooperation in the context of the COVID-19 and the domestic wastewater management as well. So from the several policy dialogues that we have had with the project participants, we are concluding that the business as usual scenario is no longer allowed, and we need a swift and speedy action at the different level of the governance within the government and with the wider stakeholders. And without timely and effective cooperation, I think there will be a very difficult condition in the public health, and there will be a big economic negative impact coming out from not being able to implement in time. So just a proposal for the potential regional cooperation, I think we could start thinking about the LOVE Consortium for the COVID-19 detection to share some data coming out from the national monitoring, if that can be possible in the different countries. And existing institutions and laboratories in ASEAN countries can share the monitoring methodologies and analyze the data, and to make some standard for such COVID-19 detection from the domestic wastewater, which can inform the decision makers to improve the domestic wastewater management system as preventive measure of COVID-19 in this region. And of course, I think there should be some framework to enhance the regional capacity to tackle this COVID-19 detection. I think that it's very important to have the capacity building opportunity for the engineers and lab specialists, and also at the government, local government officials to enhance the knowledge on COVID-19 in the domestic wastewater. And not to mention that I think it was working quite well that we have had some regional platform to discuss the common issue on the domestic wastewater management agenda in the previous project that I introduced. I think it is important to establish a regional function for knowledge sharing and management is effective way for training and capacity building. So I would stop here. This is just a repetition of what I have just discussed. So if there's any question or any concerns about this proposal and the previous project, I'm very happy to answer any of the questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kubota-san, for the presentation about, especially on the regional cooperation. Before moving on to the next final session, I just want to ask one small question. First of all, I just want to congratulate you on the successful launch of this regional cooperation platform for DevOps, and I think it's very much encouraging. But now you have a hat of the World Bank, so I'm wondering whether you have some plan or idea to duplicate or share the lesson learned to other regions or other sets of the group. Do you have any idea for the replication of future efforts?
Thank you so much, Ms. No-san, for the very valuable question, and it's really straight to the point. I think what I'm thinking right now is that as a World Bank, which is different from the research institute role, what we really need to do is to really start implementing some of the measures that are necessary for the better monitoring of the domestic wastewater in the context of the COVID-19. And I'm looking at some of the available funds that can help the ASEAN countries and the Asian countries at large to really have more awareness on the importance of monitoring the domestic wastewater for the COVID-19 detection, and to have some opportunities for the capacity building, as I've said, of the local government officials and the engineers in the ASEAN countries. However, for the other region, because I'm more working on the East Asia and Pacific region continuously, I'm not really looking at the other region, but I think the first priority is really to reinforce this capacity in this ASEAN region. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kubota-san.
Thank you.
So now it's time for the open discussion. And I just want to ask just a simple one question to everybody, and everybody can spend say 1 minute or so to share your thoughts. But before doing so, I just want to ask one question to Professor Tamarat, because I skipped my question at his session. Fortunately, I got one question from the audience, so I just want to share that question with you. That is, what is the average cost of a decentralized wastewater treatment system in Asia, and how does the investment gap compare to the accumulated costs of COVID-19? Can you answer to that question, Professor Tamara?
Okay, thank you very much. I have no idea yet what are the kind of the cost per DevOps system that in Asia, but in general it would be about that. If you talk about that per cubic meter per day, it is about that 30% of the centralized system that we can roughly estimate per person or per cubic meters that generate. But the figures that we can find out more in the different countries that having different kind of system. And the other question is what?
No.
Hello?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello?
Hello, you hear?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Your initial reaction. So let me ask just then the one general question to everybody. That is that I've observed that everybody presenters have been working very hard for expand the deployment of the DevOps system in Asia already. And although there are still not many things to be done, but it is a fact that they have been devoted intensive energy to that. But now we come into the age of COVID-19, and my question is that what kind of additional aspects or factors we may need to take into account in expanding the deployment of the DevOps system, if any. I've heard that some presenters refer to the point that in relation to the COVID-19 that we may need to strengthen the monitoring of the detection of the COVID viruses from the wastewater. But my question is, are there any points to be taken into account in the deployment of the DevOps system in the age of COVID-19, and also taking its potential role to address other issues like microplastics or mitigation of the climate change mitigation. So I just want to invite in the order of the presentation. So first, I just want to give the mic to Bao-san. Bao-san, do you have any idea?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mizuno-san, for your very important but also quite challenging questions. Actually, for the DWAT, I think as presented in my talk, I like many countries, they aware that the DWAT have a lot of advantage. And DWAT can of course DWAT will not be a kind of golden or silver bullet, but it can supplement or complement to the conventional centralized wastewater treatment approach. But still, many countries is still struggling to how to effectively use this approach to address the challenge. And one of the challenge we found it's not about the technical, but about the management, about the financial model, and also the business model in order to make the installed DWAT more sustainable. Because normally for DWAT is a system which has been installed in many countries, like in ASEAN, we found that lack of attention given to the proper operation and maintenance. As a result, most of the DWAT system after installed for 1 or 2 years is already degrade, and then also cannot fulfill its function as in the design. So in terms of in the context of COVID, I think one of the point you mentioned that is we also mentioned that is the importance of monitoring. However, I think for many, especially for many developing countries in Asia, it can be a challenge. So as a result, I think it's good to have a kind of platform, not only within Asia, but also with other regions. So especially the European and developed countries, so we can share a lot of good practice or good method how to monitor, how to ensure that we can effectively use the regular monitoring as an effective tool for the early warning system. So it can be one of the solutions. And I know that Japan have a lot of experience in this field. I think that the Tokyo metropolitan government already deployed a big team to use the regular monitoring approach to monitor the virus in the wastewater. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Bao-san. How about Professor Tamarat?
Yes, thank you. So I think I just like to re-emphasize the points that raised by the Bao-san about that the early detections of the virus in the decentralized treatment system is another core benefits that we can raise to the public, to the society, to the stakeholders, that not just for treatment, but the early detections in the efference of the DWAT system would be co-benefit that help the people understanding and then deploy more the DWAT in the regions. That's what I would like to re-emphasize. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So next, Erickson and Adria Sam.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Adriana, you want to go first?
Yes, I just wanted to complement what the other presenters had said. I think we can take the chance now with the COVID-19 that we can accelerate the improvement or the implementation of the wastewater management systems, because we see now a real threat that is currently happening, and this can open a bit the window for the governments and also for the population to see the importance of improving wastewater management systems. So I think it's the right time to take the opportunity to accelerate this improvement.
Yeah, thanks, Adriana, and I fully agree with this. I just highlight 2 additional points in relation to this. I think there is anytime there is a crisis of this magnitude, it breaks down a lot of the barriers to change that can prevent some more sustainable transformation to not only new technologies, but also new types of governance structures. And in that connection, IGES is working on a framework we call our Triple R framework. It emphasizes the importance of not only narrow and relatively targeted response interventions, but also using recovery stimulus to help purchase new technologies or help promote behavioral changes on a slightly broader scale. And then last but not least, redesigning our different types of systems, whether that be waste and water management systems or urban systems, and also redesigning our institutions to support more sustainable changes. So we underline the importance of both response, recovery, and redesign, and fitting those different pieces together to keep open the window of change and to lead to broader and bigger transformation. I think this type of general approach has specific applications to the case of wastewater as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So finally, I want to invite Kubota-san.
Thank you, Ms. No-san. I think many of the points have already been covered by my previous presenter. But one thing I want to just say is that I've been talking a lot with the governments, the central governments in ASEAN countries these days. And this issue of the domestic wastewater management was very low on the agenda until very recently. But because of the COVID-19 and because people are having higher awareness on the public health, I think it is now a very good opportunity to take us experts who are working in this field. So I think let us just continue sharing our knowledge and sharing our ideas on how we can improve the domestic wastewater management using the DEWAT system, and that which can contribute to the COVID-19 detection. And hopefully we can have this type of discussion in a very near future once again. Thank you.
So thank you, Kubota-san, and thank you everybody for your very inspiring interventions. Now time is running up, so I just quickly summarize what I've heard from this session. And the first of all, foremost, it is the widely shared view that, and it is very encouraging news that DEWAT has a huge potential to address not only the traditional challenges like on water governance, such as environmental protection, sanitation, and hygiene, but also emerging challenges like COVID-19, microplastics, and climate change mitigation. And that kind of important information should be shared more widely, and we need to strengthen our effort to deploy DEWATs in wider scale in Asia. At the same time, we may need to come up with better and new strategy for scaling up the deployment of DEWATs, taking account such new roles of DEWAT system. One of the key might be a regional cooperation, information sharing of good practices, and enhancing awareness of the people on the potential role of DEWATs and the critical challenges we are facing. And it is encouraging to know that all the presenters today actually have already committed to promote such cooperation and efforts further. And we expect that the audience of this session would be inspired by our discussion and join our endeavor for the better water environment in Asia through DEWATs. With that, I would like to conclude this session. So thank you very much for the viewers of this session for watching this session. But before leaving, please take 2 minutes to give us your feedback through the online survey. Your comments are the most valuable to improve the event. So thank you very much.